on this program, the issue on discussion was state governments are getting a lot of funds. So why are we as citizens not checking what they're doing? The interview sought to provoke several responses from me, but my core objective was this: citizen participation is the only way we can build this nation. And that is the topic of my discussion today. Citizen participation is the only way we can build this nation. There is no other way. As a foundation, it's important to state that we're in a democracy. So whilst we were in military regime, those of us who went to school in the 80s and 90s, remember when we went out on protest, the soldiers would roll out the tanks, shoot 2 students, everyone dispersed, but we still protested. We wanted to air our views, we wanted to participate, but they didn't allow us to. We didn't know what our states were doing. In fact, the guy who was running your state wasn't even from your state. They brought someone from that place to come and govern your state, took someone from the state to govern somewhere. We had no say in who was there. We didn't have any legislature, we didn't have anything than one man. In fact, there was a time they called them military administrator, which meant the man was the all in all. But that has changed. In 99, we've become a democracy. People can say we're more of a civilian regime than a democracy. The fact remains that this is a democracy. Whether the elections are free or fair, we have elections to vote people in. The fact remains that we have a legislature. Whether the legislature have the right people in there, it doesn't matter. The fact remains there are people who represent us. Whether you put them there or not, whether they got there through the back door, is irrelevant. They are representatives. The people in the Senate, the people in the House of Reps, the people in the state houses of assemblies, and the people as councillors. So even in your village, there's somebody responsible and representing you and I, whether we admit it or not. That's the foundation. So when we say citizen participation, we are saying that we need to engage these people who carry the title, my representative. Because until we engage them to become our representative, we cannot harness the opportunity for development. So before I go any further, I'll just define, in my view, what citizen participation is. In nation building, and for those who have been to develop nation, it's amazing how you would observe that the critical element that enables the government then to perform is that the people, citizens, a critical mass, are consistently engaging the people that represent them. Citizen participation is essentially a group of people, citizens, who are engaging their thoughts, their words, and their actions to enable the people in governance deliver development for the people. Nothing else. It's not just engaging them to engage them. It's engaging to deliver on development. And where development has been delivered, to sustain development. That is citizen participation. It's citizens because it's not foreigners that will do it. It's the people that come from that country that participate in the process of engaging the government through their thoughts, words, and their actions. The three are critical, not their words only. Their thoughts, you're thinking things through, you're looking at what they're doing and you're thinking and deliberating upon it, you're speaking words, and their actions that we're taking to engage the people that represent us. Why is citizen participation critical? Before we go into the how and the all that, it's important for us to really, I'm always keen to emphasize the why. Because why is that motive? Why is that thing that gets us to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Because if we don't understand why we're doing it, the motivation to keep doing it on the long term will wear out. The first reason is, this nation belongs to us. The nation doesn't belong to Tinubu alone. The nation doesn't belong to President Jonathan alone. It doesn't belong to Tony Anini alone. It doesn't belong to General Babangida or General Buhari. This nation doesn't belong to PDP or APC alone. It doesn't belong to the Sultan or the Oni of Oba of Lagos or Obi of Onitsha alone. The nation is ours. Whether we hold a British passport, a Nigerian passport or not, this is our nation. So when we say citizen participation, we're participating in something that belongs to us. And so if it is ours, then it therefore means that it's ours to build. It's not just enough that Nigeria belongs to us. And it sounds so simple, but I'm of the opinion that until we really grasp that, until we get that mindset that this nation belongs to us, there's something that shifts. It took me a while to grasp that, even as a nation builder, it took me a while to grasp that once you crack this thing, that this nation belongs to me, there's something that changes. The first thing that changes is that you suddenly realize it is your responsibility to build it. The moment you take ownership for something, the next thing is for what can I do about it, not what can they do about it. And for many of us here, we're doing so many things in nation building. We must really get this point. This nation belongs to us. I'm one of those people that consistently tell myself when I read bad news, when I catch up on what's going on in Nigeria, I say this nation belongs to me. The reason why I'm doing it is that because I'm telling myself again, it is my responsibility to build this country. The second reason that for us to ensure accountability for whosoever is handled our commonwealth. Our commonwealth in Nigeria right now is the resources that comes into the pot of the federal government, and the federal government shares to state and local government. That could come from oil revenue, from taxes, from custom, from VAT. All that resources that comes in, it's our revenue. The oil revenue is not Niger Delta's revenue, in as much as it comes from that region, and a percentage is given to deal with some of the environmental issues and give them some to develop their area. The resources belongs to all of us. And in order for that resources to be managed properly, we have to ensure accountability. Let's get this clear. None of us, whether in this room, even those who may have said they've gone to heaven, can successfully and consistently remain on the path of integrity without somebody holding you to account. So if we, even the best of us, cannot ensure good governance without accountability, it therefore means that we must ensure accountability is a daily and is a lifestyle of citizens. That's why citizen participation is critical. Because without accountability, the people in government cannot deliver on the development that we seek. The other thing to say, we as a nation, and because of the way things are, we've all become, me, myself, and I can take my children, give them the best education locally or internationally, but when they finish, they have to come back to the nation, drive on the same street, live in my house where the plumber cannot do a good work because not taking care of things properly. Someone doesn't pay rent, I cannot get a judgment to get him out of there. So citizen participation provides a better future, or in my view, the way I put it, the best guarantee for our children's future. There is nothing we can give our children better than participating in governance today to secure their future. Because if we don't participate in the governance today, our children's future is being mortgaged. The next one is to ensure credible and quality people in government. It's one thing to be credible, to have integrity, another thing to have the content, to have something to give whilst you're in government. And it's when citizens are participating actively in governance, then people who are credible and people who have content will be able to put themselves forward because they recognize that the decisions do not lie with some godfathers. It lies with a critical mass of citizens who have the control, who have the decision-making power, whether it's in the local party or whether it's in governance. One of the biggest problems we have right now in Nigeria is a few good people get into governance, but the truth of the matter is they don't have political foundation. Therefore, the godfather who controls things are the ones that provide stability for those people to perform. I won't mention them, but we know some of these people. The point being that those people have to, at some point, compensate the Godfather for providing the stability. Have you? There's something the Godfather brings for you to have stability. In return, you give him something. But when there's a citizen participation, the accountability is not to the Godfather, and the stability also doesn't come from the Godfather, it comes from the people. But more than all of this, in a democracy, there are opportunities that are on offer for citizens to participate in governance. It is offered. The reason being is that in a democracy, people get into government out of the mandate of the people. Unfortunately, we have been in military regime for so long, and the mindset has been the military regime, where, like we said earlier, people get appointed by one man, and the man that comes to your state is not from the state. You have no say when he came, you have no say when he goes. He appoints whoever he wants to appoint, he fires them anytime he wants to fire, and that's what he wants. In a democracy, we choose the people who go there. In a democracy, when they swear the oath that gets them into office, they're essentially saying that they are serving us. And in return, we provide them with a mandate. It's the mandate that gives them legitimacy to operate in office. So for us to maximize the opportunity of telling somebody, my mandate, what are you doing with it? We have to participate. If we're not participating, we're not engaging the mandate we've given. It's essentially saying, take this mandate and we go to sleep. That is our current state. So we have this democracy, but we have a military mindset. And we talk so many things about change in Nigeria, but we've not talked about this thing, that we have a mandate that we're given to somebody, an executive governor. We have a mandate that we're given to somebody in the legislature. We have a mandate we're given to somebody, local government chairman. We have a mandate given to somebody, the president and commander-in-chief. We have a mandate we're given to somebody, a local government councillor. It's our mandate. So we need to participate to ensure that they get a reminder that the mandate belongs to us. And that at the end of their tenure, they have to come back to us and say, hey, people, this is what I did with your mandate. And the next time they want to stand for election, should the constitution permit, they're able to say, the last time you gave me mandate, this is what I did. Now, if you extend the mandate for me, this is what I will do with it. It is so important for us to understand this thing, that the democracy that many people fought for and lost their lives was to bring us an opportunity to participate in governance. Not only to select the person that goes in there, but also to ensure that the person there is reminded that they're reporting to us. So we need citizen participation. It's critical because finally it secures our future. The only way we secure that future and own that future is by the people who are controlling or governing the present being accountable to us. So citizen participation is absolutely critical. And I'm appealing to us here, those who will watch this video on YouTube. It is time for us to spend a few moments, and I recommend that we go and read materials on democracy. I'm of the opinion that there has to be a mass, I don't know how they do it, but a mass campaign to start teaching people on democracy. What is democracy? What does it mean? What does it entail? Because the revelation came for me, as many of you know, I lived in the UK. I lived in a community called Thurrock in Essex. And engaged in local party politics, I just realized everything the person who represented us as a local government councillor, as an MP in the House of Parliament, they had to come and render accounts to us. And every time they come, we ask them, these were the 10 things you said you were going to do. Let's look at that before you start talking. Let's look at the list. How are we doing with this? How are we doing? And I thought about it. What? So these people know what the people went in there to do. There's a record, there's a list. And that's what we review. And when election time comes, yes, you're great, you know how to speak good grammar, all that. Let's look at the list. We need to go back to study this democracy, because we haven't had, for many of us, those in their 30s and 40s, we are product of military regime. We don't understand democracy. But if we seek a better Nigeria, we must take a step back. If government will not do a mass campaign, we must take ownership, take responsibility to say, what is democracy? So if there's any assignment that they will give, I would recommend for us to go and do a research. There's so many materials on democracy. Go and read about democracy. What is a democracy? Government of the people, for the people, by the people. Yes, but let's break it down. Because, as we will see later here, our responsibility is not to only understand democracy and participate in it as citizens, but our responsibility is also to teach others. So, if we say that citizen participation is critical for nation building, what areas in governance do we need to see citizen participation? Right now, I think the biggest one that we need to see participation is in legislature. A lot of people would say that the executive holds the power, the executive holds the funding, the executive designs the budget, the executive executes the program. That's true, and we will come to them later. But the first place that we need to see engagement is with the people called our representatives. The moment somebody wins an election into a legislature, the title that follows them is the area in which they represent. A governor does not come into government, he's the governor of a state, represent the state, but the people who represent specific areas. And their role is essentially to bring to the attention of the executive the needs of their area. That's the side that they represent the people. And to stand on behalf of government to say to the people, this is what we will do for you. So the representative takes our needs to government and comes back from government to say, this is what we're bringing to you. So we must know who our representatives are. It's important for a critical mass of Nigerians to begin to write down, who is my local government councillor? Who is my local government chairman? Who is the state governor? Who represents me in the state assembly? Who represents me in the National Assembly, both House of Reps and in the Senate? We must know these people. Irrespective of the party background, we must know that. But secondly, knowing them is not enough. We must begin to engage them. Many of them have emails now. Many of them, their profiles are stated on websites. We must know them and write them letters. What do we put in the letters? We begin to say, these are the things I'm observing in the community. What are you doing about it? What are your objectives for your tenure in office? If you didn't know that, ask them for that. And when they provide that to you, you begin to look at their tenure and say, in your 3 years or 4-year tenure, I will be following on this objective to see how you're delivering on them. If you have anything that you think that should be added to those objectives, share that freely with them. I will share the things that we need to do to achieve this. But right now, let's talk about what we can do. We write them. Many of us don't know that these people have what they call surgery or meeting with their locals. We don't go. But we must be able to know, find out when do they have those meetings and attend those meetings. Okay, several of us are not from Lagos, but we live in Lagos, and we live in Lagos for a long time. Some of us have not been to our villages or our states in a long time. But if we live in Lagos, you live in Lagos Island, as long as that place is your residence, and in many cases your children consider that place as their birthplace, and this issue of state of origin and indigenous will sort out someday, that's the place you need to engage. Because as far as you're there, the amenities, the security, and your life and property is somebody representing you for those things. We must engage those people. The fact that Lagos has a high population means that it gets even more resources. We must begin to know who represents us. If you're in Lekki, who is in, what's the local government area? Who are the councillors here? Who is the local government chairman here? Who represents the House of Assembly for this area? We need to know these things, and we need to engage them. First, we must write them. We must request for their objective for their tenure, and we must ensure that we tell them that at the end of your tenure, we will assess you for what you say you do. Secondly, We must do our research to find out what are the things that we can recommend that they achieve in the tenure based on our research, and state this to them. If we write them the first letter, they don't respond, we write them the second letter. If we write them letters and we know when they have the surgery, we must find out, we must attend that surgery and find out from them, or local meetings, so that we meet them face to face and I'm maybe write you that letter. How far, how are we doing with the objective you said you were going to achieve? It doesn't matter which party they belong to. What matters is the 3 or 4 year tenure will define what they're doing there. That's legislature. The reason why we must mount pressure on legislature is that when those representatives are receiving a close engagement from their people, when the time to design budget comes, Nigerians need to remember this. The executive executes budget, but the legislature designs that budget. We need to be able to engage them in such a way that when the 2015 budget, for example, comes up, the engagement they've been getting from the people will enable them to bring those feedback into the budget. So that your thoughts and my thoughts, your concern and my concern is being expressed in the budget that is being developed for the next year in conjunction with the executive. So we see why citizen participation with legislature is critical, because they take that thinking into the budget. And when the budget begins to have our thinking, the next phase we have is for us to follow with the executive. But by this time, budget is not hidden. And governments read budget. In these days of social media, the budget is there. There's an organization called, I think, Budget IT. PUDGEIT. I'll feature them on the website and give enough coverage so many of us can find out what they do. But the point being is, when the budget comes out, we need to know what's in that budget. We need to be able to find out what we communicated to our local councillor, our state House of Assembly representative, has been translated into the budget. Now, should it be communicated to the budget, we need to be able to see what the state government is doing to execute that. There has to be a constant following. There's a process before you get the things that you're looking for. And not only do we follow up with them, now we begin to write to the state government. Now we begin to write to our reps again to say, we've seen it in the budget. Remember, our reps do not only design budgets, but our reps sit in committees, whether education, healthcare, science, technology, agri, they sit in committees to ensure that they work with the executive to execute a budget. We've got to engage at that level. Engaging legislature and now engaging executive, writing to the state government, writing to the commissioner that we have been participating from this level. And what is always interesting about letters is people tend to ignore the power of letters. But anybody will tell you, any of us will tell you that if you write me a letter, for example, and the letter carries some hard facts, and that hard facts are reality, I'll struggle to sleep at night. One person. Now, if 100 people write me a letter, I'll begin to realize, man, these people know the joke. If 1,000 people write me a letter, I'll start thinking about electoral power, that if those numbers translate to votes, I may not even be in office even before the next election. Because if they translate into an impeachment or recall vote, I may not finish my tenure. So the writing of the letters and constantly being on their case, when we begin to critically amass people, we write and mobilize others to write. What they begin to recognize is there's pressure. And we must perform, because if these numbers translate to votes, I could be recalled or I may not get re-elected. Engaging the legislature enables them to put pressure on the executive. Engaging the executive makes them recognize that there are people watching them. And the beauty about budget and that organization, Budget IT, I mentioned, breaks down budget. They give you figures. What this section is getting, education, science, technology, agri, it breaks down. You know what is happening. Let me tell you guys something. My alumni, FGC, Kodebane, were able to get the Federal Ministry of Education budget, and were able to get the subsection that referred to that school, and we're able to determine what goes to recurrent expenditure, which is salaries and overhead, and what goes into capital project within the school. And we're able to write to the principal and say, this is what you have for 2014. At the end of the year, we're going to find out the exact amount you received. And we will ask what that money was used for. Because we see the amount listed for fencing, we see the amount listed for classroom, all that was stated, and we listed it and gave it to him. Now, as a principal, he'll be shocked to think, oh, so this thing is not secret, the people know. As an alumni, we have this enough strength to just say, we will check at the end of the year. He will go and tell the federal ministry, say, this guy is the watch. And we also are able to determine how much was allocated in the final analysis. That's the critical thing about engaging these people. The information is there. And previously they used to withhold this information, but they get amazed how people are getting into the government this thing and downloading the information and publishing it. And not only publishing it, the people who are experts in enabling us understand what those figures really mean. But the information makes no difference if knowledge is not applied. We have to capture the knowledge and we have to apply it for it to have strength. Okay, so we talked about engaging legislature through writing, through visiting them for their meetings. We're not only writing, checking what their objective for the year is, and proposing to them what we think they should add to that. Also checking that what we have proposed is put in the budget and letting them and executive recognize that we're following them. We must make people who are going for 2015 election recognize this, that the people now know. There's a politician in my state, I come from Akwa Ibom. There's a politician in my state that say, when people talk, we'll make noise, and after that we'll keep quiet. What do they know? And I said, people know. I said, they don't know. They don't know what is in government. They don't know how much. And I thought, you know what, the truth is right. This is about 2012. It's right, we don't know. We don't know how much is allocated, so we don't know what is actually spent, what is not spent, what is shared. We don't. But that time is changing, where the information is coming out. But it will make no difference if the information is not captured by the people and the people utilize it to hold them to account. That is why I'm emphasizing this. Because in this room, and many who watch this on YouTube, we don't need to even go out and protest. You just sit in the comfort of your home and type out an email or type out a letter. When you're passing local government council, you drop your letter. When you're passing State House of Assembly, you drop your letter. But if 1,000 of us, 2,000, 3,000 drop letters, they begin to wake up. But not just any kind of letters, letters that has well-researched questions and recommendations. The second thing we need to do, besides holding executive and legislature to account and engaging them by, we've talked about writing them letters, proposing what they should have, and not only check what they said they would do, but also check what they did at the end. We should also, and very importantly, put ourselves forward. It's okay for us to be checking that. In fact, what usually happens, I'll share a story, I won't mention his name because he's currently a counselor in the UK. A friend of mine in the UK invited me, he's from Nigeria, he holds a British passport. But permit me to share this to show how easy. He invited me to attend the Toronto Conservative Party, the guys in government, David Cameron's party. He invited me to come for a meeting. We just went, sat down there, they were talking, and they said, okay, now this guy is going to stand for councillorship. Who's going to help mobilize this? About 10 years ago, maybe 12 years now. This friend just said, he would join. How do we do? He turned around and looked at me. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing here, so cool down. Let me just try and think. I don't even know there will be security report. I don't know, me I'm a Nigerian man, let me stay back. He participated in joining a candidate when the candidate, and he said, look, black face in an area that had a lot of whites. I'll follow behind. All he did was hold flyer. When the candidate talks, he just turn and give the flyer. That was his role. When the candidate goes to the knock door, the candidate will give the spiel, I'm putting myself forward, these are the things I want to do. He turns around, give flyer. When they turn around and say to the guy, you go to the guys, I don't know what to say. It's okay, keep following us. First week, second week,
But not only was he going around distributing flyers with the candidate, when the candidate sat down at home in the evening after work, instead of watching football like many of us were doing then, or going to catch a premiership match or catch a series on telly, he sits down with the candidate and they develop programs. So those 10 things that we said we're going to do, how are we going to do it? Do you know anybody that can take care of this to develop the proposal for us? The guy said, we'll do research. Did research, found out people who can take care of one area, someone who can take care of, and several people came on board developing proposals for this guy's manifesto. Now you see that when someone puts themselves to stand for an election, they need a whole category of people to surround them. That's the first stage of participation. You and I don't need to go and join APC and PDP and say, hey, I'm contesting. We don't. But the people you and I know, if you don't, I can tell you, there's a member of our community that's contesting governorship in the state. She was at the last meeting. When she's participating, I see her budget, I see her activity. Her biggest need is not money. Let me tell us now, the biggest need for credible people who are contesting election to deliver the good governance you are seeking for is not money. What they're looking for is people. They look for people to come to just help them, sometimes drive them from point A to point B. Sometimes people to just say, oh, IT, I know someone who can help you with your IT content. And they bring the person on board, and the person, I've had this idea since, so develops a proposal and said, if you get into government, these are the kind of things we can do. Someone in agri, these are the kind of things we can do in agri. And all these people sit down and provide the manifesto that the candidate needs when they get into office or to contest elections, the manifesto. So, as you and I are sitting here, concerning the 2015, or whether it's Ekiti or Shun, which is in a few months, there are candidates who are looking for people to come up with ideas. And we sit down here with ideas and say government doesn't care. To participate in governance, we need to research those candidates, find out a bit about them so that we can qualify them that they genuinely mean business. Go and side with them and say, okay, if you go into governance, this is my area, this is the area that I'm most pained about. Let's remember, nation building is not just politics. When someone gets into office, President Goodluck Jonathan, today Fashola, cannot have answer to everything. In fact, he doesn't know the answer to traffic. He doesn't know the answer to housing. He doesn't know the answer, but he has people who are passionate about God has planted those areas into those people, and they research it and bring it, and he's able to work with them to deliver those solutions. So a candidate that goes into office, for him to be successful, needs you and I to work side by side with them to develop the solution that we implement. And the best in democracy, the place that our leaders lack most. We like to say, oh, they don't have good advisors, they don't have good, but the good advice, good people don't go around. The people that go around are people who can say, oh, sir, you're the best thing that's happened to Nigeria. Sir, don't mind those people, don't mind APC, don't mind PDP. You're the best thing. And the people don't deliver any content. So if they're not delivering content to Oga, Oga cannot deliver content to us. So we must begin to engage the system where we begin to, our friend Shegu here is very good in speech writing. He's engaging the system from that aspect. Let's start developing proper speeches. We can't sit this far out and expect them to deliver. We need to go close to them, listen to them, and find out where the needs are. If we are good in those areas, we develop the content for them. If we're not, we go and find people who are, and bring them, and sit with these people and develop. Because what happens most of the time, I won't say all of the time, but most of the time is when they go into government, they take with them the team, their think tank. Because the cabinet tends to be people who are appointed by their various interests. You can't escape that. Whether this democracy builds up in 100 years, you're going to have various interest groups. When you want to win election, you have market women that tell you, hey, we have 5 million votes. When you get in there, the market women will turn around and say, hey, compensators. Various groups want compensation. So your cabinet will kind of take care of that. But what tends to happen, and this is why democracies have political advisors, special assistants. It provides the person in the executive office to come with his team And like Obama won his election, the team that were delivering the election, on the morning after election, they translated from just a campaign team to execution team. The objective has been attained, now execution time. It wasn't a different team. The people that developed the work for this became the people who were to deliver on what they said they'll do. Why? Because there's no other person that can deliver that idea. You that said, this is what we can do. Here is the platform. And some of us are not ordinary people. But we can work with many of these people. When they get into government, that idea that you thought was just insignificant, they will turn around and say to you, guy, this is the time to execute. So before we get frightened when we say, engage the politics, say, hey, me, I don't like politics, so politics is a dirty game and all that. The candidates need help. We must engage them, bring the ideas to them. When they get into office, they provide the platform for the execution of the idea. That's why participation is critical. The second aspect in the political process, if we are not aids to these guys, providing idea, let me go back to the first one, please. Not only do we help these people develop their ideas, it is also a role. If you look at a candidate and you think, and we must all start this now. I'm already considering it for my state, Akwa Ibom, looking at the candidates who are standing and see the help we can offer. And I'm not looking for anything more than to ensure that they have the resources they need to deliver. And how can we do this? Not only do we provide the content or bring people who can provide content, but we work side by side with them to say, the day that you're going somewhere to talk to the people, I'll stand side by side with you. The day that you're going to this place, I will go to this place and share with the people why I think you do a good job. We cannot expect this, we do this one-man show too much. The man has to appear somewhere and sell himself. We must get to a place where you and I can take our candidates somewhere and share what they're doing. But it comes out of a fruit of the first one. That if you're participating with them and developing programs with them, and you see the sincerity there, you see the hunger to deliver, you will go out there and tell people that my heart is in the ring and it's with this guy. This is what we're doing. This is the plans we have. Please come and support us. What will tend to happen? Just imagine Bobby, I'm doing that. I will not turn my Facebook page and make it like blast the opponent. No. I'll just simply sell to you why I think my candidate is better and what we're looking to do. And I'll share with you some of the ideas we're developing. I say, come and join our meeting. Hear from us. And by the time you do that, what you tend to do is mobilize more people, not for the election day yet, we'll get them, but before the election day, a lot of people are engaging the process. So a candidate begins to build up a momentum of several Nigerians who are sharing with that idea. And what tends to happen during election time is these are the people that mobilize the voters to say, this is the candidate you need. Forget what that godfather is sharing rice, collect the rice, go and boil and eat. But this is the guy we're going to vote. We can't allow this candidate to sit down and take the whole load, especially when he's a credible one and doesn't have any godfather, and he carries the whole load, and when he fails, we just say, hey, well, this politics is no good for you, you can't stand a chance. And he goes back completely deflated and think nobody cares. And that's what we're having. Good men go and fail and pack up and leave. And we all suffer the consequences because bad people entrench themselves in government and we complain. Why are we complaining? We had the good guy and we never give him help. In this 2015, if you don't know good guys, if you're watching this thing on YouTube, you don't know good guys, email me. Email me. I will tell you good people who are contesting in your state. I'll tell you people you can participate. I don't provide 100% guarantee. You have to do your homework. You have to pray and really find out for yourself. But there are good people out there for this election who are saying enough is enough. But they cannot deliver that thing if you and I don't stand side by side with them to help them develop content, but also when they step out on the street to mobilize people, we're doing that with them. And when they're stepping out in this direction, we're stepping out also in other direction to mobilize our community, our contact, to stand side by side with them. This thing we call citizen participation is most critical now. We may not influence who the candidates will be, but right now, there are people who are setting themselves for primaries. They don't stand a chance. Because the people who stand a chance are the people, the godfathers, that's the current momentum, the current status quo. The godfathers have decided, you consider that place for this man, you will come and take over. We don't have a say, so why should it be accountable to us? But we can turn it around. The good guys who are putting themselves up for primary exams, hey, oh boy, don't worry yourself. Like this friend I mentioned, who is going into governorship in Imo. We, the good people, are telling her, don't bother now, how much you get. But the problem is never money. The problem is people who have the ideas to stand side by side with her to enable her develop content and to mobilize when she goes out there. So please, let's do that. Let's get into the process. Some of us would actually go beyond standing beside a candidate. And only you and God can decide that. I'm not here to say, yeah, all of you, all of us, let's go and stand for election. If that's not your call, that's not your call. The truth of the matter is that to engage in the political scene, some of us really would have to step out and stand for election. And some of us may not, the light bulb moment hasn't come yet. Maybe somebody in this room, you just go to sleep tonight or maybe another night and tell you, hey, I meant to go 2003. They say, hey, I don't stand a chance. But some of us need to go in and stand for elections. And the problem is, the moment you start thinking that thought, you start thinking, hey, the money, I don't even own a house. Why should I go and contest election that you spend 100 million, 200 million? I won't bother. But if you feel that burden, it's time to come out and say, I want to contest election. It sounds silly. Most of us will laugh at you. Because we look at you and say, oh, I never even buy a motor. But when you put yourself forward, you'll be amazed what can come towards you. You have to also study what is involved in putting yourself for an election. You have to study what it means to build a network of friends. You need to read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, so that you understand the mechanics, the science behind building contacts and helping people to see your point of view to advance your agenda. We must begin to consider this. There's a science to this thing. It's not just I put myself forward and that's it. Or they didn't support me, there's a science to it. But we also must be available and looking out for good people. And I think that when many more citizens are engaging the process, the political process, and saying we're looking for good candidates to provide backing, many of the good candidates will say, hey, I'm here, I was scared before, but I think with seeing good men like you, good women like you, I think I could put myself forward. I have some ideas. It doesn't have to be governorship. It could be local government councillorship. It could be chairmanship. It could be House of Assembly. But this is the beauty of it. We don't necessarily contest elections to win the election. In fact, what tends to happen is that in the current status quo, many of us may not win. But what happens is when more good people engage the process, it refines the process. Because when it's dominated by people who are sharing rice, what do you think will happen? More rice will be shared. If you share half a bag, I will go and share a full bag. But once 2 people are sharing bag, another 3 people are coming with ideas and say, no, there's no bag. There's like, oh, you don't bring money for us, we're not listening to you, fine. The second person comes, I don't bring rice, so I bring ideas. What tends to happen is, some of the people start realizing it's not about rice, they're ideas. So our participation to contest election is not just necessarily to win, it's to refine the electoral process. And when godfathers begin to see many good people come into political parties say, I will contest to, how much you get? Maybe 200,000. Hey, you don't want to go buy form. Say, my friends go help buy form. You begin to talk, so what do you want to do? These are the things I want to do. You go, another person come and say, me, I won't contest. You just go and say, what are you worrying with our party? But the point is, your party is available, I'm a member, I want to contest. More of us involved will refine the process. And even the bad guys will suddenly realize, say, you got a top programs, maybe we find 1 or 2 programs, top. In short, who is backing him? Who are the people working with? Find some guys to come and join us to help refine the process. So we need some of us to engage in the process. If you're called to that, get involved. If you're not called to that, find someone who is called to it and work side by side with them. But before we do all of this, I always like to recommend this. If you, anybody in this room, is not involved, you live in an estate, especially those who live in Lekki here. In that estate, there's an association. Participate in the association. as a starting point. Second point, if you attended a university or a secondary school, especially here in Nigeria, participate in alumni activity. Because the things that you will see in a political setting are the same that you see in your alumni. I'm actively involved in my alumni, and I tell you, it is hard work. In that small setting, we have several dynamics and politics involved. But the point is, the experience gained there, the experience not only to stand for office, but also to help the person in office with ideas that we can help deliver to the school. The experience of us going to find how much the Federal Ministry received, Federal Ministry of Education, how much the Federal Ministry of Education allocates to the school, and to write the principal to say, now we know how much you are allocated. We will also check how much you receive in actual funds. We will check at the end how you use that fund. That's exactly what happens in political setting, isn't it? It's the same thing. But you gain the experience in the small setting, and you can translate that to bigger setting. But as we do this, many of our schools will get the additional hands they need to revamp the educational sector, which we all agree needs help. So just quickly to summarize, I want to say three things that are important. For us to participate as citizens, we must study. It's not enough to show up in somebody, a contestant's, a candidate's house and say you want to help volunteer. You must do research and must come with content that by the time it flips through the page, you shake his head to say, this is tough, there's meat here. We must study. We must study the process. We must study democracy. We must read books and blogs about democracy. And so that as we engage with these people, we come with the knowledge that they need. If we're contesting, we go with knowledge. If we're siding with these people, we go with knowledge. It is very important. And I'm pleading with us here, I'm really pleading with us. The time to look at President Jonathan has gone. The time to look at ourselves and say, what have I done today to make me better equipped for the task of building a better Nigeria? What have I done today? That is the question of the hour. What are you reading? What are you researching right now that will make you equipped to enable better governance? What are you reading or researching that will enable you engage the candidates that will contest the 2015 election and those that will win so that they are accountable to you and I? What? That's the first thing. But as you study, you practice. The things that you're reading, you've got to find a way to put them into practice. The things that we're reading about democracy, we've got to put them into practice. The things that we're reading about policies, we've got to put them into practice. The things we're reading about research, we've got to put them into practice. The things we're reading about interacting with people and building contact, we've got to put them into practice. The third thing, so we study, we practice, and the third thing we teach. These are natural progression. You went to school to qualify to practice, you practice, and now you get to a certain stage in your career, you begin to teach others. That's a normal process for any development. We have to teach people. We are not just doing this for ourselves, we have to teach people that these are the things that we're doing. So that in a small circle, if in this gathering, 3 of us, just 3 of us, were to take these ideas and begin to implement it, 3 people will reproduce 20. And 20 in about 9 months' time could be 100. And that's an army of people who are effectively studying, engaging the process, and practicing it, and supporting candidates, and just maybe we could produce one better candidate at the 2015 election. Just maybe. So we must study, we must practice, and we must teach. The natural progression is inspiration. There is no rocket science to this thing. The bottom line is, democracy provides simple opportunities that when they are harnessed, they produce better governance. So we have talked too long and we have sought so many complex answers, but the answers are just simple. That when people go into governance and hold your commonwealth and my commonwealth, we must strategize on how to engage them so that we say, if you receive 260 billion as Akwa Ibom state government received, the question should not be, you received 260 billion. No! In fact, For those who are from Akwa Ibom and to our governor, Godswill Akpabio, the question we are asking is not 260 billion. Is that out of 260 billion that you received for 2013, how much was allocated to, for example, education? How much in specific terms went to tertiary? How much went to primary? How much went to secondary? How much of that money went into capital projects for those, someone like me from the Eket local government? How much went to the primary school and the secondary school? We have a girls' secondary school in my village. How much of 260 billion went to that school? And the principal of the school, and you, the commissioner of education, and you, the councillor for my area, and you, the state house assembly, how was that money used? We are moving away from the surface question and we're asking the question that cannot be avoided. And until these questions are asked, the days of putting your allocation in Ghana must go back and take abroad will not end. So these answers are not complex. Elections are coming. The real time to work is now. And the excuse that we have to distance ourselves that I'm not interested in politics, the dirty game is over. Because we engage politics without engaging all the antics involved. So in summary, we choose to see a desired Nigeria. I choose to see a desired Nigeria, but at the end of the day, desires don't translate into products. It's hard work, research and practice, and then teaching of that which we have learned and we have practiced that delivers development. My brothers and sisters, the ball is in our court. Let's do something with it. Thank you.